welcome to Amrita by the Book. My name is Amrita. This is my booktube, and today is a very big day for my channel because I am hosting my very first readathon with three of my really good booktube friends. So there's Rosie Cockshut, there's Kim from Bookmarks and Breadsticks, and Amy of Potato Brarian fame. And we usually do these lives called Feasting Females, and we decided that for August, the entire month of August, we're going to do a food-related readathon called Book Buffet. And we're super excited about it. And also, I'm a little bit nervous because I'm not the most, I would say, disciplined reader. So I'm not exactly sure how this is going to work out, but I do know that I'm going to have a lot of fun trying, and if I fail, that's fine, but I'm just gonna have a lot of fun with my friends. A lot of my friends here on BookTube, including Rosie, who's co-hosting this, have been doing Piles of Possibilities, and I have wanted to try it out because I really like the sound of it, and I think it offers a chance to be a bit more structured but is still kind of flexible and allows you space to dip out, which is the kind of hedging that really appeals to me. And as an aside, if you haven't checked out our live as yet, I highly recommend you do that because in it we explain like various things that we are doing. For example, we have a book tag, we have a bookish bingo that you can complete to win a grand prize. I mean, we have a lot of things, and it was a fun session and you should check it out. So my plan right now is to do at least 4 of these books, and the first 4 that I'm going to be talking about are my strong possibilities, like this is my dream list, but you know, I don't know if I'll get around to it. Who knows how I'll feel in August. So let's just see how this is going to work. First up is Turmeric Nation by Shailashri Shankar, which is a book that was recommended to me by Krish Ashok, who is a food writer and a author of his own cookbook. And I don't know much about this book except it's some sort of history of Indian cooking and how it evolved, and you know, like things that we take for granted and why they have become part of our cultural fabric. And it sounds incredibly interesting, and I read a couple of reviews on Amazon, and the bad reviews were from people whom I immediately knew were bad news, which immediately made me think that this is a book that I need to read. So I bought it, and I'm going to be reading that at some point, definitely, hopefully for this readathon. Next is My Life in France by Julia Child, which, believe it or not, I've never read. Isn't that crazy? I'd meant to read this way back when I read Julia and Julia for the first time, and I never got around to it. But I feel like there's so much that she wrote in this book that has become part of pop culture. Like, everybody knows about her journey to France and her falling in love with French food and what it was like for her to learn to cook French food. I mean, these are things that she's talked about so much. I feel like I already know, but I also just really want to read her in her own words. So this is the perfect opportunity for me to fix that gap. Another shocking gap in my cultural knowledge, I would say, is Fresh Off the Boat by Eddie Huang, which, I mean, a lot of you might know from the show, which is very popular, but Eddie Huang's memoir is apparently like a lot more darker. I believe he walked away from the sitcom because he felt it didn't adequately address his trauma and his, you know, his difficult childhood and stuff, and it sort of shied away from some of the darker subject matters. So I've always had it on my list of things that I wanted to read, just because he's a very interesting person, a controversial person, but also a very interesting one, and I wanted to read his book, and it just got pushed back and pushed back and pushed back. So again, this particular readathon is the perfect excuse for me to find it and read it. Next up is a book that I will definitely read, readathon or no readathon, and that's Rosaline Palmer Takes the Cake by Alexis Hall. I love Alexis Hall. I've been incredibly in love with his writing ever since I read Boyfriend Material. I cannot wait to read this. It's been so well reviewed by everybody whose taste that I trust and I love. So I'm really looking forward to this book. I just need the library to give it to me because there's a long wait for this book. Moving on to the latter half of my pile of possibilities, there is Climbing the Mango Trees by Madhur Jaffrey, which is a memoir of her growing up in an India that doesn't really exist anymore, and more particularly a Delhi that doesn't really exist anymore. I read this book a long time ago, I would say like maybe 15, maybe more than that years ago, and there are things from that I still remember, and I remember being very moved by it, and it was a window into another world. It felt very personal to me because I'm also from Delhi, and Madhur Jaffrey, of course, is the queen of like Indian cooking in the West, and she does it in a very authentic manner. I really respect that woman, and the reason why this is on my list is because a couple of weeks ago, some idiot started pushing this really misogynistic, patriarchal, bullshit write up by I don't even know who, that sort of recast her as this sort of, I don't know, village belle who turned into this international star after she was abandoned by her husband. And her real life is 100% different. Like, she's incredibly well educated. She won a scholarship to RADA in London. I can't begin to tell you like how much it bothers me, because it really does feed into this trope of like what is proper femininity and what is proper womanhood. And I am 100% sure that that particular terrible lie about her was being circulated mostly because she's a Indian woman in a sari who cooks for a living, and they were like, well, of course she must be like this kind of person, and she's not. She's a very modern progressive person, and she's still alive. It's not like she's a fictional character, so she can actually talk for herself, and I'm just so upset. But anyway, I remember this book and I was like, oh, I should reread it. So it's on my reread list. I'll get around to it at some point. Maybe I'll get around to it during this readathon. Next up is a book called Notes from a Young Black Chef by Kwame Onwuachi, and I had heard about this book a while back and I was thinking about reading it, and it's sort of a riff on a book that Daniel Boulud, who's like a very famous chef, wrote to young people who might be thinking about entering the profession. And Kwame basically wrote about it from the perspective of being a young black man in America, and it's apparently like one of the great memoirs of its time, and I really wanted to read it, and I do think that I'll get around to it in this readathon, but I'm not sure as yet how or when. And last is The Language of Baklava by Diana Abu Jafar, and I've read Diana Abu Jafar before and I really liked her writing, and in a way this is a bit of a nod to my co-host Kim, who is Persian American. Diana, of course, is Jordanian American, and I really want to read this book. It sounds like it's really funny and poignant, and I think like Arab Americans in general, like, that's not a voice you get to hear a lot of. So yeah, this book has been on my list as well, and I would like to get around to it sooner rather than later. If you are taking part in this readathon, then we have the bookish bingo that you can complete to win the grand prize. The prompts are linked down below in the description. Take a look at them, see if that is something that you would like to do for the month of August. It'll be fun, like if you want to stretch a little, and we are absolutely fine with you trying to do more fiction rather than just all non-fiction. So mine is really memoir heavy because I really love the memoir as an art form, and I went to school for it. Like, I really like it. That's why I'm doing it that way. But if you would like to do things on a more like fiction basis, there are so many good books out there with food in them that will also satisfy the prompts down below. So take a look at it, see if that's something that you would like to do. Innovate a little bit, like maybe you don't want to do a book readathon, but maybe you want to do like a what do you call it, a movie-a-thon. Like maybe you want to watch like movies that satisfy all those prompts, but you know, I don't know if that would qualify you for the grand prize to be honest, but it would be something that you can do, and it might be like a fun project for the month of August. Go wild, have fun, you know, let me know what's going on with you, and I'll see you next time. For more videos, please hit the subscribe button.